So Gargoyles is by far Disney's most ambitious animated series to date. And most fans consider it the best animated series they ever made to date. You know, they made a lot of cartoon shows about the movies they made or just a lot of kiddie stuff, but this one was more targeted towards an older audience. And Greg Weisman, the creator of the show, said he was inspired by the likes of Shakespeare, Hill Street Blues, and Gummy Bears. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, if you're a fan of the show, you can kind of see the bits of Gummy Bears in the way the show's animated, and I definitely see the Shakespeare in it. But I never really watched Hill Street Blues, so I don't know where he gets that from. What made Gargoyles so engaging for everybody was that the series had so many story arcs and so many well-developed characters, not to mention some great action, and had just a little bit of everything for everyone. And I gotta say, one cool thing about this series that a lot of shows don't do is that it gave a really good backstory to set the show up. Sometimes they have maybe a one-part episode or something real quick that just explains the story real quick before they really get into the show. But Gargoyles had a 5-part episode that gave so much backstory, really developed the characters, and really set you up for the rest of the show, which I thought was really cool. So, enough talking about it, let's actually watch it. Our story starts in Scotland, where our heroes, the Gargoyles, are guardians of a medieval castle. The only problem is they can only come out at night because once the sunlight hits them, they turn to stone. I'm sure that won't be any kind of inconvenience later in the show. So our heroes, led by the fearless Goliath, ward off a series of night raids by attackers. These enemies seemingly have no chance whatsoever of defeating the Gargoyles, seeing as how they have superhuman strength, stamina, and the ability to fly. I don't know how they would ever be defeated. Oh yeah, our villains decide to grow a brain and attack during the day. Seeing how the Gargoyles are made of stone, the Scots, nor the Gargoyles, stand any kind of chance and are defeated. Not to mention destroying most of the Gargoyles while they're in their stone form. But lucky for our heroes, they were hiding when all this took place so they all stay safe. However, this angers Goliath as he grows fond of the humans but is now torn. On top of all this, the one human Goliath thought he could trust betrays him and his kind.
You are the betrayer? All of my kind are dead. And now, you too will join them.
But don't worry, kids, he gets his later in the show. An angry sorcerer who thinks the Gargoyles did this on purpose places an evil curse on the Gargoyles, turning them into stone.
Until the castle rises above the clouds.
Wow, that kind of sucks, but I'm sure it won't take that long.
This may be a shock. 1,000 years have gone by since the spell was cast.
1,000 years later? Man, I've heard of holding a grudge, but this is ridiculous. And if you think that's ridiculous, wait until you see how the curse is broken. Enters David Xanatos, a stuck-up go-zillionaire, moves the castle from Scotland to modern-day New York on top of a skyscraper. Okay, first of all, I don't care how rich you are. How the heck do you move a giant medieval castle halfway across the world? I mean, there's not even a machine to do that with. You need like a fleet of battleships or like an entire squadron of aircraft. But anyway, let's continue. So after the curse is broken, our heroes are greeted by the Steven Seagal wannabe, David Xanatos. He asked the Gargoyles for a favor. 3 discs were stolen from his manor and spread to 3 locations all across the city. He asked the Goliath and the Gargoyles to retrieve these discs, as they hold important information. But it turns out this is all just one big fat setup, as Xanatos was merely testing the Gargoyles to see how loyal they were.
Everything's going according to plan.
He really has too much to do with his money, doesn't he?
Meanwhile, Goliath has been spending a lot of time with his other human friend Eliza, a New York police officer whose life he saved previously, and she in turn saved his. After being betrayed twice now by the humans, Goliath struggles to trust humans again, but Eliza proves to be a true friend.
And if you thought you saw the last of Xanatos, man, you were sorely mistaken.
It seems Xanatos is fed up with these Gargoyles and has created robot versions of them to attack and kill the real Gargoyles.
Okay, wait a second. So he spends billions of dollars to move this castle from Scotland on top of his New York skyscraper just to revive these Gargoyles, only to spend millions on these robot Gargoyles to kill them 3 days later? You know, I'm actually stunned that this guy still got money after the 5th episode.
Goliath and the others defeat the robots and are now torn where to live, seeing how their only home is the castle. They feel their only purpose in life is to protect it, seeing as how everything else is either dead or destroyed.
This castle is our home, no matter where it has been taken.
So this crazy 5-part episode sets up for a great series filled with Shakespeare references, furry wannabes,
Me, wolf, hyena, jackal, dingo,
and head decapitations? Wait, what? Oh, it was just a robot. But still, that's kind of crazy. I mean, can you imagine if you were just watching TV and you happened to be flipping through the channels and that was the one little section you caught? Alright, let's watch and see what's on today. No, that doesn't look good. No, I don't want to watch that again. Oh, cool, head decapitation on Disney series, sweet. That would blow your mind, but still, it's definitely one of the best action sequences in the entire series.
On top of good animation, compelling stories, and great music, the voice acting is really what brings this show full circle. Hudson is voiced by Edward Asner of the recent hit Up. David Xanatos is voiced by Jonathan Frakes of Star Trek.
You know, it's borderline creepy how much this guy and David Xanatos look alike. I mean, all you gotta do is add a ponytail to him, and there you go. Real-life Xanatos.
But for me, the actor who really steals the show is Keith David, who voices Goliath. His voice is just so powerful and cool. He could be talking about something completely boring and still sound awesome.
Call me Goliath.
All in all, this is a really entertaining show, and one I can't believe that Disney actually made. If you didn't know better, you wouldn't think this is something they made. But it's a very great show, one I'm thrilled to have in my collection. And although it only had 3 seasons, it's survived by the comic book series, written by the original series creator Greg Weisman. So be sure to check out the DVDs, the comics, and just everything else that has to do with Gargoyles, because it's a great franchise. Well, this has been the Cartoon Fiend, reminding you that if you're not having fun, it's probably your own darn fault.